So I've only been in South Carolina for the last 14 months, but I've worked with the city and some folks in the state for about 5 years. And I would say 4 years ago, someone said, hey, you need to go to the South Carolina Water Resources Conference. It's great. It's an important exchange of information with the private sector, with industry, with academics, with policy folks, staff, as well as electeds. So it's a great place where people come together to share knowledge and maybe innovate and create some ideas for future projects that could get either risk reduction or multiple benefits from them. This idea of bringing the folks together, so a chief resilience officer's job is primarily to break down the silos in city government, because the planning department and the transportation department and the stormwater department and the public service, they don't often collaborate. They exist side by side, and we know over the last 10 years that cities need to integrate across and innovate across departments to become more efficient, to become more resilient. So that's what a resilience officer does. And it's very important that the resilience officer, city officials have access to industry, to academia and researchers, and work with the city staff or state staff or county staff so that you understand what's possible within the confines of a particular problem. Often if you just talk to an engineer, like if you talk to a carpenter, you're going to get a hammer as an answer, and if you talk to an engineer, you're going to get an engineered structure as an answer, and it's going to be neat and tidy and in a box, and of course human systems and natural systems don't fit in those boxes. So this idea of collaboration, working across those sort of silos, breaking down the silos, that's essential, and I think you have that here in this conference. Sea level rise, the coastal condition, the inland water condition, climate change, wetter storms, slower moving storms, storms driving, storm surge into our coasts, higher sea levels going forward, the compromise that's going to bring to our drainage systems. These are the challenges, and these are existential in some ways. We're going to have to learn to adapt to those. It's going to require innovative policy, and it's going to require investment. It's going to require resources. The state is doing a lot of very good things in the Resilience Office with this forthcoming resilience plan, and I think that's going to be instrumental. I do. The city is working on its own thing, its own resilience work. Other communities across South Carolina are doing the same thing. But at the end of the day, we're going to need the support of the federal government, because they have a lot of resources, and the state government, and the municipalities to make investments. And whether that's investment in infrastructure, investment in policy so that we stop developing in unwise locations and in unwise ways, or if that's a matter of buying out folks, acquiring their homes, acquiring these properties so that they aren't subject to repetitive loss. Floods cause a lot of damage and a lot of disruption. And we just need to spend the money and the time and the energy and our creative juices to solve those problems. But it is an issue of resources at the end of the day. One of the challenges is Charleston as a city nests within the county, and we have a tri-county area. We share similar water problems, but the collaboration across those governments, I'd say, is suboptimal. We probably, in the low country, we need a regional approach. We all have to do our own things in our own municipalities or towns or cities, but understanding how the water is flowing across the political boundaries, ignoring the policy that we may devise in Mount Pleasant or in Charleston or in Beaufort, we need to work at that governance level too. I'm fortunate enough to have worked with a lot of really smart, creative people in my life. I've been inspired by them. I've learned from them. Some of those are Dutch. The Dutch know a thing or two about living with water. The biggest thing that I have learned from them this is not a technical issue. This is a governance issue. And I think we need to pay attention to that too.